Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money. Now I know what you gonna even money, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money. You can keep your conniving money. When you've been up for a bum, you have been there be money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, you have been there be money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money. Now I know what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that we walk for. A 2 pound note and a kill a piece. A 2 pound note and a kill a piece. A 2 pound note and a kill a piece. This is all the money that we walk for. I said money, neighbor, money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money. Now I know what you can I make money. Oh, Joseph.
Comes audio son. You burn this wine when no want you shine. The tree of life, them no want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Comes I say them heart no kind. Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in the Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Comes TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruption over land and sea, where the wicked politician they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see. Sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, with Jah as ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We got Breakford, Bork and Mark Benchcop, David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam, Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London, Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, Port People Governor, Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson, Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time, the people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton North. You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Rheinveld Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T&W Harris Butcher Shop, for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more.
The fire burning red in a Georgia representing of a comes audience. Big up Kidaki, Buxton massive. Hey Babylon boy, you going like in a like come son. Red.
sing it now. Yeah, morning, never morning. We just feel tight. One day, I getting thicker. Morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. It is 7 hours 29 on the 25th day of June in the year 2024. I listen, sometimes I don't know y'all as well with me early morning. But anyhow, how was your last night? How was yesterday? Yesterday was a rainy day, was it? We had some rains, a little rain, and so on and so forth. Well, how was your day? Come on, man. Some people y'all ain't want to give me a chance. I just sit down here, y'all allow me to talk a little bit, no? Caller, can you open the show, the program?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, caller. Can you open the program?
Yes, thank you for having me on your program, Mr. Amsterdam.
You need to welcome the viewers.
Yes, I'm welcome. I'm welcome everyone. I'm just giving my piece of the cake. I have a terrible concern what's going on with the PNC, okay? And the infighting, it is not of my standard. I know the PNC growing up as a little boy, I always hear, everybody talking. Now the infighting and everything that's what's going on, it is crumbling the party. And another thing too, Kadaki, right? I read the article yesterday. I screenshot it, right? 95% of the Indians there, every time they're speaking, they're saying that, oh, black can't run this, black can't run this, and black can't. You check a country, check a successful country that the black leaders, right? And the Indians before punish under their own mat. But you see, black people, if we get ahead, he's the boss, we prefer kill him. If we know that we can't get nothing, we prefer kill him or try to get rid of him. But Indian people prefer punish under their own mat. That is my contribution to this program this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So yes, I was saying, how was your yesterday? How was your last night? Did you rest well? Rested and recuperated? Have you been paying attention to what is happening on the political scene? Have you been paying attention to what's happening nationally? Somebody sent a photograph yesterday, or published a photograph yesterday of Ashni singing a line at that looks like Queen's College, right? The photograph alleges, because I don't know if it's AI or I don't know if it's Ashni, but the photograph, they say a picture tells 1,000 words, but in these days with artificial intelligence, you could see me in Timbuktu and I sit down in Guyana, right? So not Dennis, good morning. Not everything you see, sometimes you could believe. But there's this photograph of Ashni Singh, they say, I'm collecting cash grant. And so it was sent to me. I said, watch Ashni in the line collecting cash grant. And so my question or my remark was, the man is a citizen of Ghana. Most likely he pays his taxes too. Right? And so he has a right, or doesn't he? Cash grant is to every child that is in school. Every parent that has a child in school. Here's the photograph. It's Melly Mel, no? After signing off on all those memos, let me show it. I don't know. I know you always follow Melly Mel all the time, so you must have done see it. After signing off on all those memos for Cabinet C, friends and family could get numerous contracts without being approved by Tenable. Finance Minister Ashni Singh even went straight in a line at QC to collect the school children cash grant. Right? You see him there? Yeah. Money is the great equalizer. Eh? Isn't that true? Huh? Money is a great equalizer. Wherever money is, you can find all kinds of people. Everybody you can find. The rich, the poor, the up and coming, you will find everybody there. So a lot of people are going to be judging Ashni Singh this morning. Yeah. Finance minister within the Ministry of President with responsibility for finance. One of the long convoluted name just to say that, meanwhile, you bear responsibility for nothing, by. You know, when the shit hit the fans, we want to protect you from it spilling on you. Good. But yes. And so he's there collecting, or what appears to be Ashni Singh is there collecting cash grant. And of course, Guyanese are critical of him and so on. But let me say this. Ashni Singh is a good example of what Guyanese should be. Collect your entitlement. You pay taxes. Your benefits to get from your taxes, collect it. A lot of our citizens, a lot of our middle class, average, financially challenged citizens sometimes would say, me ain't for dog. Me want dog. Right? They could keep dog. And I will constantly encourage, yeah, please collect your money. If you all don't collect it, the possibility is somebody else going to sign for it and collect it. We're living in one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Join the line with Ashni or join the line like Ashni and collect your money. Please collect your money. But what you ought not to do is to allow the money that you collected to buy your silence. To buy your silence. Don't let nobody silence you with $40,000 or $45,000, whatever the amount. Don't let nobody silence you. As a matter of fact, don't let nobody silence you with $40 million, $400 million. Always be prepared to speak your truth and speak it softly. I know some people might expect me to say speak it loudly, but I always remember I had a lecturer at the Government Technical Institute, Mr. Bourne. And Mr. Bourne said, you can be firm but polite. You ain't got to be loud. You don't have to be loud. As people say, you ain't got to load it up. Just be firm. So speak your truth. Regardless of how much money they shove your way, speak your truth. Is it not convenient that following the publication of sanctions and so on, that the government has decided, hey, we're going to be doing cash grants now? Is it not convenient? Very convenient for me. There's a song, Step Right Up Before the Sideshow Begins, I think. We are in the season of sideshows. We are in the season of sideshows because, number one, elections are just around the corner. Number two, I guess the government is gathering that a whole more than 50-60% of the population is angry with them for the way they have treated the teachers and by extension the children. And so what are they doing? As we like to say, they're trying to curry favor. Trying to curry favor. Look, we're paying out cash grant. Y'all come and get it and shut your mouth. It's like where your children bawling, you push a piece of bread or something in their mouth. Yeah. My advice is, your child is entitled to cash grant, collect your cash grant. But don't stop speaking. Don't stop saying to the government that they have mishandled the teachers' strike. Teachers are supposed to be going back to work as of today. I think and they'll be there perhaps another 2 weeks. The rest of this weekend, the rest of next week, school closes Friday week, I was told. Right? Your children have lost the equivalent of more than a term's learning. And so they are coming to say, hey, collect this and shut your mouth. We got your best interest at heart. You can see we giving you money. Right? Don't let them smart change shut you up. Don't let the big money shut you up. Continue to speak out and demand systems in place that will ensure that you're treated fairly, respectfully, all the time, every time, regardless of who is in government. That's what I want you to do. But you have to recognize some worth in yourself. You got to put some value on yourself. What is my value? What is my worth in this whole scenario? Is my value $45,000, or is that the value of my child, $45,000? Is that enough to shut me up? What's the value of my vote? Is it $100,000? Or is it a promise of better to come next year? Or better to come 2027? Is that what my value is? Is that the worth of my vote? Sit back, relax, assess yourself, assess your value, assess your worth. And take all of that into consideration when you're making decisions moving forward, especially around these times. Please and thank you. Please do. No. Let's get it on. You know, some people tell themselves they're bright, they're smart, they're this, they're that, they're the next. I see one of the early morning defenders saying, Kadaki, just as how you could have stopped the man and tell you don't disrespect Nigerians. You could have stopped the call who see you want this barrier and that barrier and the other barrier and a stake. Some are also dunce. That sometimes I wonder, why is it we engage you except for the fact that I give other people the opportunity to learn from your dunceness. Just as how I, quote unquote, upgraded that column about saying Nigeria is being used, etc., etc. I upgraded the caller who said that you want people head on a stake. But you know what? Some of you would only see a part of the story. You will only acknowledge a part of the story. You will not acknowledge that immediately after the call concluded, I said, I do not support violence. No. Even the police, the ASP Coolen or SP Coolen, whatever it be, even the major crime investigators, when they choose to play that section of the program, they stop at the man saying, who do you want? Up until now, they have refused to play my response to that call. Up until now. Even when they had a video confrontation, as they say, video interview with me at CID, They refuse to play that section as if it's an alien sitting there listening to what they're playing, because I didn't know what been on the program. Even when they went to court, if I remember clearly, the magistrate had to say, I'm hearing of these cybercrime charges, but I don't know what they are. And they proceeded to read. And she inquired if I didn't respond or something to the extent. And then she heard the rest. She heard the rest of it. So, hey, man, don't come here with your dancing self this morning. Don't come here with your unethical self this morning. Don't come here with your soup drinking self this morning. Because you, Coolen, and all of them, they're choosing to be selective. Y'all belong in the same category. People like you got this country where it is. People like you. Y'all ain't got ethics. As old people say, I ain't got conscience. All you do anything for buck. The quest is on. The quest to shut up Kidaki Amsterdam from Camps TV. The quest to shut down Camps TV social media broadcast is on. The quest is on. Y'all keep coming in your numbers. What the Bible says something about 10,000 of fall at your right hand and your left hand and your right foot and your left foot and in front and behind and above you and all kind of thing. Y'all come and y'all continue come. Swat at you like fly. Because that's what y'all are. And tormentors to people. Pests. Mosquito in your conscience. Mosquito don't get we bite or suck. And that is what you all are. A set of blood suckers. Don't come here and aggravate me this hour of the morning. The lines are open. It's 30 minutes to 8 o'clock. I see somebody has been asking, and you guys keep making. I'll tell you all, people listen to Guyanese morning time, and there's a problem with the PPP. And there's a problem that everybody in the public sphere has, I would say, a public life. Has and will continue to have with Camps TV. Because like I usually say, I'm an equal opportunity beater. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I tell you you're wrong. Right? But I also give people the right of response. And this way y'all can't take from me. I give people the right of response. I don't hide behind no fictitious name or fictitious profile and all of that. I don't do it. You know who is speaking when I speak. Right? That I know for a fact. And so I always say, people have a right to respond to anything that is said on this program. And I will give them that right, so long as it doesn't become disrespectful. And according to Facebook or social media, it adheres to the community standards. So, following yesterday's program, I don't think it's based on yesterday's program only, but following yesterday's program, or for several weeks, let me say, I've heard a lot of we have heard a lot of comments about Royal Ford and Petition 99 and so on and so forth. I'm sure Royal Ford has heard those comments too, and his supporters have heard those comments too. And so since he's using the platform to advertise, to campaign for his race in the, or his part in the race to party leadership of the PNC, a video was sent to me yesterday. And so I will give you the benefit of listening to that video, because apparently it has some answers. Let me tell you, I ain't listened to them. Apparently it has some answers to those people who are saying Rosedale Ford failed the supporters of the coalition with that petition. Right, so y'all listen.
Last question. I see some people online over there. So, in terms of the petitions that were filed, if you can, in 1 minute or less, give a summary of what that error was, and do you take responsibility as probably, I don't know who was the head of the team, but that's the perception that you were ahead of the legal team, and that technical error with the petition was fatal to the petition, so the government could, the party's case could not have been heard before the court. Do you take responsibility for that? Who should accept responsibility for that? And do you think that persons should factor that in the consideration when they're thinking about who they should vote for party leadership?
Well, I will answer this way. In relation to the petition, that has been an issue that has been going back and forth, and everybody wants someone to blame, right? So Ford is the most appropriate person to blame, without examining what has happened and what is the role that Ford played in the process. Ford, I was looking at some of the comments passing me. Ford is being accused of filing the petition late. That is part of the nonsense that is being said. I never filed any petition late. The petition was not dismissed because it was filed late or outside of the period when the petition was supposed to be filed. So in terms of that obligation that I had as representing the petitioner, I satisfied it. The petition was filed in time. The issue was in relation to the service of the petition. I was the petitioner's lawyer. I was not a respondent's lawyer. I was the petitioner's lawyer. I was not a respondent's lawyer. The persons who represented Mr. Granger, as far as I recall, would have been Master Williams and some other lawyers. I can't recall all the names. So I was not responsible for whatever information would have been put down by their client. So I was not responsible for whatever information would have been put down by their client as to when they received it.
So the petition was simply answered. The petition was dismissed because Mr. Granger signed a wrong date and it was not allowed to be corrected. Is that correct?
Exactly. I was not representing Mr. Granger. I can't represent Mr. Granger and represent the petitioners at the same time. I was not there or part of the process in relation to who was advising Mr. Granger as to what is to happen in relation to the petition. So it is easy to blame Ford because every other person would have vanished and scooted in relation to these issues. No, let us be very fair. If we want to blame people, let us turn our attention directly as to who must be blamed. In terms of this process, as to what is going on here, and this is not a question of debate. From 2020 to 2024 has been the most prolific period of filing cases on behalf of the PNC, on behalf of opposition interests in the history of the country. You don't have to want to agree with it, but if you look at it, We have filed dozens and dozens of cases. It has never happened before. Look at the period from 2010 to 2015, from 2000 to 2010. I have discharged my obligations, both as a citizen of this country, as a member of parliament, as a shadow attorney general, and as a member of the PNC in relation to advancing the issues. So there has been no comparable period. There's no one who could put up their hands and say that they would have held more cases as a shadow attorney general in advancing the cause of the Guyanese people. When we look at the cases that would have been filed, these are significant cases which would have advanced the interests of the Guyanese people. So in terms of whether I'm responsible for that, just to say it one more time, I'm not. But I'm to take any responsibility for it, I'm not going to do so. There's no basis for me taking any responsibility. People will always want to say what they want to say, even when facts are presented to them. A few months ago, I was accused of being a PPP because I allowed Mr. Granger to put the wrong date. Mr. Mayor Robertson, as you know, if you recall, he issued a statement saying that that was complete nonsense. But in a political process, even in an internal political process, people will always try to find something to discredit you on this or any issue, but not on this one.
The foregoing was a paid political ad. I'm sure it contains some information that many of you have an interest in. The lines are open 6225933. 6225933 is the number to call. I noted, sir, but that would be questionable. We can talk about that later. Call your life.
Mr. Kadaki, and those who are in and out of the diaspora. Mr. Kadaki, your program is one of the most blessed programs in the entire Guyana, Caribbean, universe. The reason why I'm saying this also, your program is versatile. It has the ability, it welcomes anyone on it, allowing you respect, you value, and you cherish righteousness. It allows the good, the bad, and the ugly, freedom of speech, pretending that they toe the line and go to what is right. Your program is so blessed, Mr. Kadaki, that everybody has freedom to exhale what inside of them and help to eradicate a lot of suicide tension, to help to eradicate a lot of domestic issue. It's spread so wide that you yourself can't even imagine. And it educates people in such a way that you yourself can't even imagine or think. God bless this program. And I want to say one more time, for the final time, almost about a week, a couple of days away from the PNC election thing. Again, y'all let it. When we Guyanese expecting a small party, like behaving like a little talk, why are y'all behaving like that? Get y'all act together. Get y'all act together. Mr. Kadaki, once again, God bless your program, and you are a blessed man. And who God bless, no one can curse. Nobody can deny this, and nobody can take it right out to ask nobody opinion. God bless you. Have a blessed day, Guyanese. We are going to get there by the grace of God. Have a blessed day, Mr. Kadaki.
Thank you. Yeah, so you heard what you had to hear, I think. You are now free to discuss that if you care to. But hear me, like I said, no more singing. It's Tuesday. The PNC's Congress will open on Friday. So I will permit you guys, if you want to from now, to share words of wisdom for the contestants, right? Share words of wisdom for the contestants, but don't mudsling. For example, as host of this program, as community activist and a national political activist and so on, I'd want to say to the contestants, be mindful. Remember that there is life after Congress. And there is also political life after Congress. So be mindful. Don't go so hard at each other that you will destroy yourself in the process. And so the victory you might have would come at too high a cost. And you will not benefit from that victory, even if you were to. That's my simple, very simplistic advice. Call it life.
Yes, good morning to you and all my other African Guyanese brothers and sisters in Guyana. Help is on the way. Flash Garden again. Can you hear me? Because I got to ask you, can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you.
All right, good. What happened this morning? I listened last night with Mr. David program. But first, let me sing this song here. A little piece of it. They don't want to see us live together. All they want us to see us fighting and killing each other. We are top ranking. It's happening between us, the black race too. They don't want to see us live together. Why? It's a question. Why? And this is a share up last night. You mentioned that too before you start me. Hello? Hello?
Yes, caller.
Hello?
Yes, caller.
Hello?
That's why we hear you. Are you there? Hello? Hello? All right, I guess Flash got data problem again. Caller. I'm hearing all kinds of songs except this man's not speaking. All right, good. Let's come again. As I said, wheel and come again. Wheel and come again. You guys, so I'm saying, you have this golden opportunity this morning, if I can call it that, to address your candidates. I would love you to address your candidates and tell them how you feel as a supporter of the party, how you feel as a supporter of any candidate. Just don't sling mud. That's all I'm asking you. I want no mud slinging. Call it life.
Yeah, good morning, Kadaki. Now, I was listening yesterday to Mr. Slow and Mr. Conway, and the latter part of the program, Mr. Slow started to put out this the sanction, delving and opening up and explaining this sanction. And when he was explaining, lots of things came out that I believe that we in this country, we do not understand the extent of the sanctions. We don't understand how far this sanctions has gotten to. And I think it's time that we move away from other things, because this, to me, it is very important. Because Mr. Slow explained the far-reaching effects of that sanction at the business places, that it can affect, that it has affected the banks, everything. People renting from the embattled team cannot rent from them anymore. They got to think 30 days, up to 30 days, within the 30 days, to sever all business connections with these people. He even told us that the vehicles that they once had, those two fancy vehicles that used to be on the road, the sanction dictates they cannot be on the road. Why? Because they will no longer be this thing we had us got by insured. They could no longer be insured. So if those cars get into an accident, the person cannot expect to get any money from any insurance company because the insurance company cannot be held responsible. All them things. I think he mentioned where their bank cards have been cancelled. And I think we should get down to looking into this thing on a more open forum where much of it needs to be explained, because some people still would write and try to go and ask the team to come in and assist them financially. And with the sanctions, they are not permitted now to offer no type of finances to the public. Next thing, I saw pictures of the Shinehead in Canada with an empty place where he went to meet his people, his supporters in a foreign land. They all, as usual, was empty. They got plenty people there. So we got to sit down and look at all these things that is going on. And coming out to the opposition party, I feel that after the PPP know of their dwindling support from their mainstream people, the dwindling support, they have caused a minor infraction within the opposition, and that minor infraction is taking a lot of root, a lot of space to cause confusion. Because with this infraction that keeps going on and keeps getting better, the Guyanese people are not looking in to the sanctions that have been placed on the people it has been placed on. And I believe Mr. Slow continue to say, that is what the thing say, that there are more things to come. I think things coming from the UN, and remember at the UN, it had cases of the killings we used to pass, the phantom killings. That was a thing that was went fully to the UN. Then the thing of rape with the little girl, and then this other woman went there. So all these things are yet to come. I think he said also that these people who they have first sanctioned, they are the small fishes, and they think they have more sanctions for the big fishes. So I think that we should move away from this thing, because at least it don't make sense to me with the APNU thing. But we should look now to the thing that is gaining popularity. The sanctions is something everybody might say, oh, it's sanction. The sanction is going to affect each and every Guyanese in some way. And I want to know, seeing that the team used to be giving out things to people, if further down the line, if the recipients of those goodwill gestures, as the team used to say, if they will later down the line come in for a small fraction of the sanctioning, because They say a picture tells 1,000 words. And people in America deal with paper trail. Pictures of the police them outside that Lombard Street and all those things. We have got to look into that. To me, there is a credible juncture in Guyana that we should not take lightly. We shouldn't take it lightly. Lastly, now in the country, you would see they're looking into games, football also. And mainly in the African community, when anybody come, they bring a set of balls, football, they might bring, and they bring a cricket ball in the African community. God, they don't want no more Shamar wealthy titles. So they bring in share football and know the football. In my village, they got the big football, and now they get a kiddie academy football. Now in this kiddie academy, you got children from prepping, you got children from nursery school to put them there. And these people who are running these things don't ever sit down and say, you know what? Children ain't going to school. At least from the 7 days that you are coming out here to get football, bring your books and let me look at your books. In the outer world, children from soon as they could walk, they put them in these different games. But you would hear the children, if they cannot keep up with the schoolwork, the educational part of the thing, they cannot be on teams. Even unto those students who are in colleges, if they don't bring home the educational aspect of the college, they are being dropped from the team. But Guyana, you belt away education and you run every day at the football field. When you finish the football, you have no educational qualities. So what you do? You're gone to get a food now that you're sharing food. You're selling out your brothers and sisters because you ain't got top side. You ain't seeing that the $2 you get cannot compensate for what you're doing. That is my comment, Baba.
Thank you for your comment. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. Let me tell you all this. I want to summarize to you what Pastor said. But the long and short is, I think several months ago, I remember having a conversation with someone who frequents the program. I can't remember for a fact we discussed this on the program publicly. But here, in short, what the sanctions have done, blackout, blackout. In short, what the sanctions have done is made the Mohammeds unbankable. Unbankable. Right? And when you're unbankable, basically nobody can or is allowed to do business with you. So you got all the money, but really and truly, you can't enjoy the benefits of that money. That is what sanctions are intended to do, right? Put a squeeze on you, so you don't enjoy the benefits of your quote-unquote ill-gotten gains, right? It's like saying somebody you are not to benefit from your crime. God will talk more about that. Call it life.
Yes, good morning again. You look like Flash Garden have to change his name.
Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Them not like me, con I be morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is now, what time by 12 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour on the 26th day of June in the year 2024. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Welcome to the program. How are you? How are you been? How are you do? How was I here yesterday? How was I here last night? Last night, it rained a lot last night. As a matter of fact, it rained into the morning. We're still having light showers here in Buxton. I'm not sure what is happening in your neck of the woods, but I rather suspect it's raining there too. You can tell us what's happening in your neck of the woods. You can also tell us if you have any floods anywhere, if there's any emergency that you need the government to address, and so on and so forth, because we are here for you and we represent you in this program. And so if you have any emergency, rest assured we'll mention it on this program. And the hope is that the likes of those who you know who come on the program every morning to defend the government will at least communicate to them that, hey, Area A is flooding, Area B is flooding, Area C is flooding, a road is broken, or we're at Area D, and so on and so forth. Because given the poor quality of infrastructure in this country, when it rains a little above the normal, if you can call it that, when it rains for an extended period, you expect all of these things will happen. I noticed Linden has its fair share of disaster, if I can call it that. Lots of flooding is taking place in Linden. The people at Peters Hall had their fair share and perhaps continue to have their troubles with water because of the construction that's taking place there. And I dare say the spitefulness of the powers that be. Every time it rains, or as I like to say, every time the rain smiles, the people at Peters Hall are now getting flood conditions because the waterways are blocked, the drainages are blocked, and so on, and so the water rises quickly. But let's know what's happening in your neck of the woods. I thought it this morning, it crossed my mind. And the thought came to me because somebody sent something to me. I want to caution as man to man, and when I say man to man, I mean simply meaning human to human. Regardless of our contestations, regardless of the competition, regardless of what the challenges are, regardless of our battles, our fights, or contests, one thing I want to encourage us to remember is at the end of the day, we are human beings. At the end of the day, our opponents are human beings. At the end of the day, we have families. Our opponents have families. At the end of the day, we are expected to coexist in this society of ours. And while they say two mountains don't meet, two men will always meet, or the possibility will always exist for two men to meet. And so keep in mind, in all of the challenges that you enter into, all of the contests you enter into, those things. And so in fighting your battles, in confronting your opponent, let me see, keep it at the forefront of your mind that human relations are important, and positive human relations above all will make a difference in the society, in your homes, in the world that you live in. You don't have to bury anybody under mud, anybody under filth. Likewise, nobody has a right to do it to you simply because you're contesting for a political or other office. What we're seeing playing out on the national scene in this contest of leadership in the PNC is just an example of the challenges many of us face on a daily basis, even in the workplaces, because somebody believes that, hey, I better deserve that position than the other person. Fight for the position on merit. Fight for the position on merit. What can you do differently? Not character assassination. Okay? We all are human beings. We will err along the way. You don't necessarily have to use somebody's humanity to win over them. Use your positive attributes, what you can bring to the table as your rallying cry. It's Wednesday. Dr. Hinds is in the house. Dr. Hinds, welcome to the program. How you do?
I'm all right.
Your volume is a bit low. I don't know if you're fighting the mic or the mic run from you.
I'm always suspicious when people say my volume is low because I have a voice that is a microphone itself. Is it better now?
Yes, sometimes we have that voice that is a microphone, but we are afraid to use it before they say we are loud and we are raucous and we are ill-mannered and we are uncultured and all of that. Sometimes we have big voices, but we dumb ourselves down because of society's.
Not me.
I'm happy to know it's not you. Oh, you're the boy. What's going on? A lot happening in the society. Yeah? I know.
If that were not so, it wouldn't be a society.
I agree. I know you're following the cricket and thing. What is the latest, boy? What's going on with the cricket? I mean, I don't follow, but I still have a little interest here and there.
That dereliction of duty. You don't follow cricket, dereliction of duty.
I used to love cricket, but then I came to the point of thinking that, hey, this is a waste time because the West Indies the West Indies have caused us so much heartbreak over the years. My heart muscles are for something
the
else.
The West Indies cricketers are recruited from our ranks, you know.
Uh-huh.
They are not alien to us, you know. So whatever critique we have of them is really a critique of ourselves and our society. You know, if one were to follow the Jamesian thesis of cricket, that it goes beyond the boundary. So to understand cricket is not just to really understand what's happening on the field of play, but also what happens beyond the field of play.
I agree.
But the West Indies they've been knocked out of the tournament. They didn't make the semifinals. So yeah, there's lots of broken hearts, but you know, that's the way things are. I remember as a boy going to school, and we used to we had a literature book that was called The Sun's Eye, and there was a poem there by Edward Campbell Braithwaite. Braithwaite, the Barbadian, call him. He was born Barbadian, lived in Jamaica. His wife was from Guyana, and he's one of the finest poets that we have produced in a generation of fine poets. And he had a poem that was called, you know, when the side is done, not a man to hold up the side. And I remember as a 10, 11-year-old lapping up that poem. I later learned it was about a match in 1960, West Indies versus England. So no, cricket heartaches is not today's story, you know. It's just that between the 1970s and 1990s, so 20 years, we dominated the cricket world, and losing was not an option during that time. And so an entire generation of West Indians, or 2 generations of West Indians, have been, in a sense, weaned on that. And a lot of us have not shaken off that. We expect to win and keep winning and keep winning and keep winning. And so we've been losing for the last 30 years, and we still can't get used to the fact that, you know, the 20 years of glory are gone. The society has moved on. The West Indies nation has moved on. And the cricket has always reflected where the nation is.
Yeah, so is it that we have to use your thesis, is it we have a nation of failures? Why for the
Really,
last 30
not
years
really, not
we've
really,
been losing?
not really. I mean, the people who play cricket now have different interests. There's more individualism now than there was ever in our cricket. And it's a reflection of where our society is. I mean, the logic of independence means that we are releasing more and more of our people from abject poverty. We still have tremendous poverty, but individuals from the rank of the poor have been able to use things like education, sports, cricket, for upward mobility. And while cricket is a team sport, it's still individuals who make up that team. And so the kind of individualism that has crept into West Indian society over the last 30 years, when you couple that with the fact that there's now more money in cricket than there ever was, it means therefore that the options that our cricketers have are more than just playing for the nation. Their priorities are different. And so in a sense, whereas generations before played for the nation, they played for the nation, our cricketers today, the nation is only part of their priority. They have other priorities, and the society, I don't think, has caught. Well, our cricket mind has not caught up with that yet, and some of us wrestle with it every day. Some of us wrestle with it every day, and it's not just in cricket. We see it in other areas of life. Individuals triumph, whether it's in art, whether it's in business. We see wherever individuals have an opportunity to rise above the pack, they tend to become much more individualistic and tend to feel that their talents and their outputs are of their own doing. And so there's not that social consciousness that was there 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years, because that's all we had. That's all we had. I mean, social consciousness, political consciousness. That's all. Today, like I said, our young people have much more priorities. And since we are on a political program, there's a way in which this government is in a sense pimping on that individualism, that yearning on the part of individuals, that feeling on the part of individuals that it is because of me. This government is taking advantage of it in a terrible way, especially that relate to African Guyanese. More and more as young people are becoming more individualistic and seeking their individual fortune, this government is using money and using the state as a means of not channeling that energy in a conscious way, in a real constructive way. They're really encouraging young people to channel it in a most destructive way, because you're saying to them, look, if you can go kill a man, if you can go and poison your own people for $1 million, we got 10 million to give you. And that is what I mean by, channeling that urge on our young people to be more individualistic, channeling it in a destructive rather than constructive way. I have no problem with individualism. It has always been there. Like I said, as we move from plantation to nation, we couldn't build a nation as individuals. We had to build it as a collective. We had to build the nation as a people. And so the instinct, that collective instinct, that nationalistic instinct kicked in as we moved into independence. But as we move further away from the moment of independence, and the society begins to go in different directions, the logic means that there are times when individualism will trump collectivism, and we are in that era right now. And it's not about criticizing individualism. It is about how you take individualism and channel it in constructive ways. And one of my big worries with this government is that it is channeling that individualism in the most destructive way. And you know, we started with cricket, and I think there was a time, I mean, when you were a young person, you were a cricketer, but you were other things, you know. If you're coming of age in the 70s, you're listening to Bob Marley, you're listening to conscious music. And so when you go out in that cricket field, as Viv Richards would do, you're going out there with a consciousness, you know. Rastafarianism is in your mind. You know, the nation, the people, they're there. You know that this is about your nation. As we move further and further away, and as informal education doesn't do what it used to do 20 years ago, and our formal education system has not become nationalistic, we are graduating young people to become cricketers, to become athletes, to become doctors, to become lawyers, to become business people. We are graduating them without a sense of national consciousness. And then we expect them to act on behalf of the nation. No. You have to groom them, and you have to socialize them. And they're agents of socialization: the family, the community, education, religion. Those are important aspects of socialization. Perhaps education is the most important aspect. And while we are now reading, you know, our education is based on output from our own people. So whereas you read Shakespeare 40, 50 years ago, now you're reading our own writers coming from the Caribbean, coming from Guyana, coming from Africa, coming from Black America, coming from India. So we are reading more and more of that in school. But what hasn't changed? What hasn't changed in our education is the ideological, intentional objective of the education system. What are we educating our people to become? Are we educating our people to become West Indians, to become Guyanese? Or are we just educating them to read and write? You know, I always quote my auntie, and I'm sure she represents so many aunties and so many mommies, who said, I'm sending you to school not just to read and write, but so that nobody make you a fool. And even if I didn't understand what she was saying at that time, as I grew older, I understand what she was saying. She was saying education is more than reading and writing. Education is about consciousness. And our education system has not changed in terms of the kind of nation, the kind of person we are producing. The colonials geared their education system to produce colonial subjects. They were very clear. Rule Britannia, God save the Queen. They were producing us to be subjects of England and the Queen. Unfortunately, since we have become independent, we have not changed that trajectory. We have not changed. I mean, Burnham tried and so on, but changing an education system takes more than just a political party, right? So our education system is still producing a citizen that is not conscious of his or our own historical roots, his or our own reason for being, his or our own identity. That is, what do you identify with? And so we produce the cricketer, brilliant, good skills. But that cricketer, when faced with unusual conditions, when faced with challenging conditions, has to go beyond the skill, has to go now into the deeper reaches and say that if I give it up here, 10 million West Indians, 10 million people are not going to be happy. That cricketer has to be conscious of that when he's out there. And so he or she is not going to give away that wicket. Is not going to give away that wicket so cheaply, because he or she is conscious that, you know, if I lose to England here and inviting in the colonials again, you know, if I hold my wicket for another half an hour, I am really going to make 10 million people smile tomorrow. The present day cricketer doesn't have that consciousness, you know, and I am not beating up on them, because I know we have not socialized them. And that is why I have taken it upon myself that I can't save the world. I can't even save all Guyanese. I decide that I'm going to put 75–80% of my activism to working with Black people, you know, working with Black people to get back to that state of consciousness, so that when our young people graduate from school and they step out, they become that business person, they understand that you're doing business, you're making money, but you are doing more than making money, that you are nailing a lie that people of your skin color cannot do business. All right? And so it is that void that I recognize, that I have decided that I am going to spend a lot of time trying to use the public space to give Black people that sense of being, that consciousness that they're equal to everybody, to any other group. That sense of being that they are human beings who are worth, whose dignity is worth defending. But first of all, to say to them that you all have dignity, and that dignity is important, and that when you sell that dignity, you're naked, right? So it's that recognition that the education system is not doing it, that the family, the Black family, is no longer a unit of socialization, of culture. And so therefore, when the family ain't doing it, when the school ain't doing it, when the larger community is not doing it, then those of us who have had the opportunity to look at the world, to travel the world, to read a few more books, we have to step in and begin to lay the basis again for what we used to call in the old days a renaissance, and that's what I'm about. Some people think that it's racism to do that. They're backward, of course, and some of them know that it's not racism, but they are okay with having a race of people who are devoid of culture, who are devoid of consciousness. And so they wouldn't want people like me to do what I'm doing. I am single-minded about what I'm doing, that Black people have in this era to catch themselves, as old people used to say. That is to rediscover our cultural self, to rediscover our spiritual self, to rediscover our Black self, to rediscover our dignity, to rediscover our sense of resistance, not just resistance against politicians, but resistance against evil, resistance against badness, resistance against selfishness. There's a difference between individualism and selfishness. And our foreparents knew that. And so
like I said, I can't save the world, the entire world. I can't even save the entire Guyana, you know. But at least I can do something to get black people back on even keel.
Is it that dedication to of 80% of yourself to educating, enlightening, empowering, saving black people that is causing the likes of Ravi Dev and Beta Ram and so on so much pain, as I say, that they call you the memory warrior? And,
yes,
and what's this thing about the memory warrior? What's the significance of this term, memory warriors?
No, they're saying memory warriors are people who use history in a one-sided way. You know, they don't use history to tell all stories. And they say that I am using history in a one-sided way. Now, history is not one-sided. So in the first place, they're doing a disservice to history. History is never one-sided. I am because I'm not. So when I am speaking about blackness, I am also speaking about whiteness. When I speak about black subjugation, I'm speaking about white suppression. You see? So history is never one-sided. But, you know, I mean, I don't want to get into any kind of scholarly thesis with them on that because, you know, their objective is political. They are saying that what people like myself and Henry Jeffrey, Nigel Hughes, and others are doing is that we are telling Africans that their story is the only story. And of course, that is not true. We cannot talk about the African story outside of the European story, outside of the Indian story, outside of the Portuguese story, outside of the story of colonialism and slavery, and post-colonialism and post-slavery. So their intention is for us to shut up. Don't say anything to black people. Don't tell them they have a history. Don't tell them they have a culture. Now depend on them to frame black history and black culture and then give that to black people. And to say, look, I'll give you an example. They're saying, look, your parents come out of slavery and they do stupidness. They buy land and they try to feed themselves rather than buy land and try to export and make money. That's one of the things that they're trying to tell black people. So you're saying to black people, look, don't worry this stupidness about collective nothing, about village. Look after your individual self. Come to me and I gonna set you right. So that's what they want to tell African people, that your history was a mistake. So when people like myself step in and say, oh no, over my dead body, you ain't doing that. Because I know that history. I'm going to tell black people the right history. They then get mad at me because I'm upsetting their plan to dominate Africans. You see, when you want to dominate people, you have to make them feel inferior. Make them feel that they're nothing. Make them feel that the fact that you don't have big business now is because something is terminally wrong with you. And not because the society framed it in a way to dispossess you. And so when I do that, then they object. Look at what President Mr. Ali did to that young man. The young man is doing his job. The young journalist. He asked him a question. Of course, Ali is not the brightest light in the room, and he's not capable of answering questions coherently. So he should not be holding press conferences because he can't mambo, right? But what he knows how to do well is to put down black people because he's been socialized to do so. So he says to that young man, basically telling that black youngster, you're a no good. You have no ambition. That's the subtext of what that man did to that young man. And the young man, coming out of a community that has not armed him with the artillery to fire back at Ali was there helpless. Helpless. And that's what I'm saying. I am giving black people artillery. That when people like Ali and them talk down to you, you fire back at them. You fire back at them. Because he's basically telling that young man, you don't get ambition. You don't get house. You don't get land. You don't get this. You come here asking me questions. You see? And that is what played out there. Now, does our elites in the society have the consciousness to recognize what play out there? No, they don't. What they see play out there is the president insulting a journalist. No, it's more than the president insulting a journalist. It's the president using his power as head of government and state to spread a cultural narrative about half of this population. And that was a moment for him to demonstrate that. And when you do that, then people like me have to say, and you want me to go talking about Marxism? You want me to go talking about class discrimination? Oh no. I have got to make sure that young people coming through the ranks are not going to be subjected to that kind of nastiness and take it without firing back at you.
And so in short, like you rightly said, it wasn't Ali just insulting a journalist, but in short, I see it as an attack on all young people first and foremost, African Guyanese specific, and an admittance, if you ask me, of the failures of the government's policies, because at age 28, the average young Guyanese has not been able to achieve any of those things.
But that's precisely the thing, Brother Kidaki. If Ali's quite happy for you framing it that way, just framing there. He's quite happy. That's an attack on young people and 20 years. No. What he says, they've come from a deep place that sees the African as lacking ambition. When you use a little by and they tell you won't get them, it's the worst cut you can get. And he's using the occasion of this exchange with this young man to put out there a narrative that the black youth has no ambition. You remember a year ago, somebody said black young people don't have role models?
Yes, and it came from the PPP benches.
It's the same place that it comes from. You see, this is not about young people. This is not about young people. They want us to make it about young people. They want us to make it about journalists. It is not. This is about a narrative that is saying to young black people that you go in and write GC and go in and be a journalist. That is nothing. That is pauperization. Be an individualist. Come to us. We're going to give you land. We're going to give you a house. We're going to give you this. That is what is being played out there. Mr. Ali will never speak to a young Indian like that. So this is not about young people. If it's about young people, he will speak to all young people like that. No, this is about black people. Put that in our pipes and smoke it. If we don't have that consciousness, if we don't have that lens, we are going to be missing a lot in this country. We are missing a lot. We are missing a lot in this country. A lot of attacks that are directed at black people. We are thinking that is directed at Guyanese. No. I have no doubt that Mr. Ali would put down an Indian, but not in the way he's putting down black people.
I appreciate that. And when you come on that, usually there are certain agencies of state which one can turn to protection. One of them is definitely the judiciary. We've seen in the US, for example, how the government of the day uses the judiciary, I can say, through the appointment of judges that are favorable to them, to, as I would say, safeguard their actions in government and so on. Not so long ago, we heard of a move, I think, bill was tabled in the National Assembly to increase the number of judges on the benches. And just yesterday, we saw the appointment, I think, of 2 judges, 7 East Indians, or Guyanese of East Indians ancestry. I think 2 Amerindians, no, 1 Amerindian, 1 Chinese, and 1 African Guyanese, or 2 African Guyanese and 1 Chinese of Guyanese ancestry. When you see the combination of the list of judges that have been appointed, what have been your reactions? What do you see happening there?
Look, let's be straight about our story. Yeah? We live in an ethnocracy. We live in a deeply divided society ethnically. It means, therefore, that when a government of one party acts, it acts not just as the government, it acts in furtherance of the objective of the ethnic group from which its support comes from. It may hide, it may mask it, but at the end of the day, it does. It may witness on behalf of the ethnic elite. In most cases, it does that. And, sometimes the ethnic masses. In a winner-take-all situation where a party wins a majority of 1 seat and gets the entire government, it legally gets the right to do what it wants. And not to expect that it would do what it wants in an ethnically divisive way is burying our heads in the sand. And I think we Black people do that a lot. We are surprised that the PPP is pro-Indian. Why are we surprised? We have a system where a party wins, it wins everything. Our voting is along ethnic lines. We vote into, or half of the population votes into office. It's ethnic party. Of course, external forces are involved and so on and so forth. And you don't expect that ethnic party to act ethnically. We are foolish not to expect that. So that the PPP is packing the court with Indian Guyanese should come as no surprise to anybody who really honest about our politics. But because we are not honest about our politics, because we are saying we don't have a race problem, because we don't say the truth that our parties are ethnically driven, because we don't, we are then surprised when our opposite party acts in an ethnic way. And so therefore, when our party comes to power, and they don't act in a brazen ethnic way, it's okay with us. That is, it's a winner-take-all system with ethnic parties where people vote along ethnic lines. We've been trying forever to get people not to vote along ethnic lines. And it has not happened. And it will not happen. It's really foolhardy for us to think so. So here is it. We have the PPP there. I mean, I expect them to act ethnically. They would. But here is the deeper problem. Here's the deeper problem. Black people study law. Generally, in the past, Black people send their children to be lawyers and doctors. There came a time when we, in the Black community, start saying, we got to come out of lawyering and doctoring, and we got to make money, or we got to go in the gold bush, or we got to do. So We no longer sending our young people to law school, right? And even if we want them to do law school, they make law school so expensive that it's prohibitive for poor black people. All right? So here is the story, right? Indians start going and study law. They tell me law ain't good for we, right? So they not send your picnic to study law and doctor. Let them go and turn actor and actress, and let them go and do this, and let them go and do that. And Indian people start sending the picnic for study law. More than that, they can afford it. So all of a sudden, I think there are now more Indian lawyers than black lawyers. That's the first problem there. That is the first problem there. There is a critical mass of Indian lawyers for the PPP to pick. I'm sure what they're going to say. They're going to say 30-something lawyers apply, 20-something of them were Indians. The pool that we pick here, while it's not representative of the society, it is representative of the applicants. So we have a deeper problem in the society. A deeper problem in the society. In that we black people are allowing our plans to be determined by external forces. It is not that we have to stop studying law and go and study business. We have to study law and business and doctor and accounting and acting. You see, but they've been able to tell us we're not good for business. We study to become teacher and doctor and lawyer and make me feel guilty. So we bust off lying and doctoring, and so we now going to make money. Right? I am saying that as a black race, we have to have our own plan. We have to have our own objective. We have to have our own plan as to where we want to take our society, our community. We always study law. You know why we study law? Because slavery was legal. Disenfranchisement of our people, it was legal. The law had an important role to play in our subjugation. And so therefore the law had to play an important role in our freedom. And so our foreparents sent the picnic for going to study law, not by accident. And we have to look at this society, and we have to look at our community as an African people and ask, what are our needs? We need scientists. We need oil exports. We need people who can operate the oil rigs. We need people who know the science of the oil, but we also need people who know the law of the oil. We need people who know the economics of the oil. So it's not one or the other, you see. But because we don't have a cohesive plan of action within the black community, our black organizations are not into the business of planning for the race. So the race is reacting to external stimuli. And when you react to external stimuli, you lose your focus. You lose your focus. And so what you see playing out here is rank politics. It has to do, as you quite rightly say, that look, the court, the law, the legislature, the judicial branch is an important branch of government, has always been. The judicial branch mediates conflicts in society. The judicial branch interprets the law. Interprets it. It says what the law is. It says whether the law is constitutional or not. It is a tremendously powerful branch of government. And as part of the PPP's domination, they are filling that branch of government. And they begin by doing so by encouraging their young people to go and study law. First of all, like I said, law is prohibitive. No, it's expensive to go and study law. Our black people, for the most part, are poor, you know? So, you know, that's a good excuse not to send your people to study law. Can't afford it. They're sending their children to study law because they have a long-term plan. They have a long-term plan of controlling the judiciary. And there we have it. And what we are reacting to is the symptoms of the problem. When you see so many Indian judges and so few black judges, that's a symptom of the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is that the Indian Guyanese elites have a plan to dominate this country, and they're executing that plan meticulously. And that African Guyanese do not have a plan because our elites are about themselves, their political party, and not about the race. They're always denying the race, quicker than Peter denied Christ. And in denying the race, they are denying us a long-term plan for the race. Look at what the PPP is doing. Look at what they're doing in the armed forces and the police. They recognize that Indians are never going to flock to the army and the police. But what they do is that they strategically put Indians they send them on certain courses, they come back, and they put them in the ranks. So when you look at what's going to happen in the leadership of the police force and the army for the next 20 years, it's going to be dominated by Indians because they strategically place their people there, and they play the waiting game. They play the waiting game. And I'm saying again, what you see in the news today with those judges is not the problem. It's not the problem. It's the consequence of the problem. It's the symptom of the problem. The problem is much deeper.
Is there a short, long, and medium-term fix?
My brother, I just said it. Black people, black organizations, black leaders have to start leading black people.
And that's all it takes.
No, I'm not saying that's all it takes.
Asking.
Please, no. You asked me if there's a quick fix, and I said there's no quick fix. One has to begin to take your race. You're living in a racialized society. Don't let people get you going off and talking about a whole bunch of other things that are important, but are not necessarily relevant to your people.
It's 8 hours. Usual time to open up the lines, but I won't do that just yet. Dr. Hines, among the calls you've made over the years with the PPP in government, undermine them, and so on. No confidence vote. Recently, you asked a no confidence vote against them, given the publication of the US sanctions and so on. I saw you recently call, recently I would say reiterate the importance of biometrics and other means of, I would say, ensuring a free, fair, and credible elections. Could you expound on that call for viewers? What's important? We only talk about free voters list, free voters list. No, we're talking about biometrics.
All right, listen. Whether we like it or not, the Americans are here, Exxon are here. The world is in Guyana. We got plenty oil resources. And those forces are going to shape how things operate in Guyana. They have already started to do so. We are boxed into a corner where elections are the only way to legitimately change a government. There are other ways of changing governments. You can change a government by insurrection. You can change a government by armed rebellion. You can change a government with people on the road, and they stay on the road until the government falls. So there are ways of changing government, different ways. But given where we are in Guyana, our options in terms of changing government are very limited because we don't have control over those options. To believe that we have control is to fool ourselves. And so therefore, elections take on an importance that it never did before, or perhaps an importance that is only equal by the period when we first became independent. And so we have to make sure we can play around with elections. We've played around with elections in this country, in the sense that we have allowed the two major parties to fiddle with elections, and so and so when whichever party got control of the machinery, they fix it to win an election. We can't afford for that to happen anymore because we don't have any option outside of the ballot box. Some of us didn't take the ballot box very seriously back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s because it was a period, an age of revolution. You could change a government by armed resistance. You could change a government by popular insurrection. And so therefore, while elections were important, you didn't pay as much attention as you should to elections. That has changed. And at this period, I'm not saying this is going to be the case forever because societies undergo change, but no, our options for changing government are limited to elections. It means, therefore, that we have to take elections seriously. It means, therefore, that rigged elections have to go. It means, therefore, that we have to make sure that the mechanisms that are put in place for credible elections. I happen to believe that the elections in 2020 was seriously interfered with. It was seriously rigged. And I think both sides, both major parties were able to point their finger to the other side. One side said, look, I see you attempting to steal the election. The other side said, prove it. And in trying to prove, the side that said, I see you attempting, exposed its ass. And we see they did more than attempt. They actually rigged the election. And that's where we are, right? We are where we have an electoral system that does not pass muster, that cannot provide free and fair elections as they are. And so the struggle for free and fair elections, in the old days we used to say free and fair elections and elections free from fear. We have to extend that now. We have to struggle with free and fair elections, elections free from fear, but we have to struggle for control of the electoral machinery, not to be in control of any single party. That is the struggle that we have now. We cannot, people will tell you, people who study elections will say that nowhere in the world do you have the perfect election. I am saying that we in Guyana have to now struggle for the, if not the perfect election, the near perfect election, because that's all we have. Other places can say, we can live with elections that are not perfect because they have other options of removing governments. We do not. We have to struggle for as perfect an election as possible. And that means the machinery has to be able to pass muster. How do you know the machinery pass muster? It means that all participants have to agree that this election machinery pass muster by all of us. Only then can we begin to talk about the credible electoral machinery. We are far from that at the moment. And so therefore, biometrics will take care of vote impersonation. But you can have biometrics, you get rid of vote impersonation, which means you deny the PPP probably a seat or two because they got at least one seat through vote impersonation. You deny them of that. But you still have the question of the voters list, which is heavily bloated. You have over 200,000 extra names. And once those names are there, it's a cookie jar to dip your hand in. When the other side not watching, you dip your hand. Then the other side watch, you look straight. Send they turn the back, you dip your hand. And if you have control of GCOM, you have control of the machinery, you are able to dip your hand more than the other side. If you have money to pay the gatekeepers, then they are going to turn their heads while you dip your hand. So the PPP has this enormous advantage for dipping their hands. And so therefore, the struggle for biometrics, the struggle for a clean voters list, the struggle for as impartial a GCOM staff as possible are real struggles, and they're intertwined. It's not one or the other. If you have one and you don't have the other, you're still not in business. If you have biometrics but you still have a bloated list, you're not in business. And so this is an uphill struggle. And it is not going to come by some magic. It will come when find a way to the table along with the international community to get what we need. The PPP is comfortable with the rigged system. They're comfortable with it. The opposition, understandably, are uncomfortable with it. How do you get the PPP to come to the table to agree? How do you get them? That is the question the opposition has to answer. And that struggle has to be that you have to make the PPP come to the table. And you can only make them come to the table by using the muscles that you have at your disposal inside of Guyana and using your persuasion to persuade the international forces to help you to do it. That's the only way we can get biometrics and clean voters list and all of that. We have to make the PPP give it. And you're not going to make them give it by just calling on them. You have to be able to threaten them to lose something of value. To lose something of value. And you have to be able to convince the international forces that a clean electoral machinery is in the interest of everybody, in their interest, in our interest, in everybody's interest. It means that you have to build a movement. You have to build a movement. When the PNC was fiddling with election, the PPP couldn't get the PNC to change that on their own. That was changed through a movement. At the end, there was something called the Patriotic Coalition for Democracy that included the PPP, the WPA, the DLM, all the other parties, and some trade unions. And then they were able to convince the Carter Center. And it was together, along with the objective changes that were happening in the world. The Cold War had come to an end. The Americans at the highest level were no longer interested in propping up governments. And so it was a combination of forces that led to that break in 1992. And I don't see that today. There is no movement, there's no contemporary Patriotic Coalition for Democracy. I've preached to Aubrey Norton, privately, publicly, Banner, you got to use the PNC to organize a broad front that includes all the political parties in the opposition that are interested, to include some trade unions who are friendly to you, to include some business business interests that are friendly to you. You need the broadest possible movement. The international forces are not going to act until they see that you have a critical mass. And like I said, I've preached to Aubrey privately, publicly. That's the most I can do. You know, in the 1980s, the WPA had more strength than it had now, and we led that movement. We led that movement. We pulled the PPP along, and then you had some of the friendly unions, and so we built that strong movement. We had reservations about the PPP, but we worked with them to achieve the common objective. And the PNC has to lead that movement now. And if it doesn't lead that movement, then some other entity has to step forward and lead that movement. But we are not going to get those things without the movement.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. N Square, I see you. N Square. N Square, you know that. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't want to comment too much on the Aubrey Norton leadership of that movement at this time. The PNC goes to Congress starting on Friday. The demographics, looking at the numbers, previously there were lots of argument that the PPP could beat the opposition hands down because it's support base, specifically Indo-Guyanese, outnumbered or form a large percentage of the Guyanese populace. I'm receiving information that has changed. There's been a great change in those numbers. Hence, the non-release of the statistics from the last census 2 years ago, I think. Does that, well, I would think that presses on the point most importantly for the need for a clean voters list and biometrics to really eliminate those possibilities for fraudulent votes.
Let's cut through the chase. We don't need a census to tell us that no group has a majority. We don't need it. The thesis that because we don't have a majority, we have to reach over the aisle to get votes. It's nonsense. The PNC moved to rig elections because they knew they didn't have numbers. The PPP started to move to rig elections from 2006 because they knew that they didn't have the numbers anymore. What they're trying to tell us is that the fact that we no longer have a majority ethnic group that will democratize our elections, no. It will expose our elections to rigging because both sides are going to find ways to rig. And rigging is not just voting multiple times. The PPP shows. Rigging is vote impersonation. Is taking a 20 votes from people who work in election there in this village, another 20 from that there. The other thing, it's about dead people voting. It's about encouraging immigrants to come in, give them some benefits, and commandeering their votes. It's about ensuring that people are on the voters list who live overseas and get them to come home to vote at election time. All of that is part of the tampering with the credibility of the elections. There are about 10 ways that the PPP rigged the 2020 elections. And so, therefore, when you don't have a majority in a winner-take-all system, you are forced to manufacture the majority by stealing. And the PPP has in its hands the power of the purse strings, which it can use to manufacture votes, meaning to buy votes. whether it's buying immigrant votes, whether it's trying to buy a couple of hundred black people vote, whether it's buying Amerindian vote, it has the money to do so. Whether it's to buy despondent Indian people vote, it has the money to do so. It has the power of the state. It has control of the leadership of the police and the army to say to black people, if you all only step out the line or don't do what we tell you all to do, you all are likely to be crushed. It has the power over public servants. It showed that it's prepared to hammer them when they ask the government for anything. And so it was threatening to take away teachers' money during the August holidays, for example. So teachers, public servants are likely to say, oh Lord, I can't show my hand for the opposition. So there are so many ways that the PPP can manipulate the election. You have to take away that power to manipulate the election from them. That is the way you're going to get free and fair elections. To take away the power to manipulate the elections. You can take it away by passing legislation. That's one way. You can take it away by threatening them where it hurts. You can take it away from them by convincing the international community. So there are very many ways of going about this thing, my brother. And the opposition has to get its shit together. And so long as the PNC doesn't have its shit together, the opposition can't get shit together, because to fool ourselves that we can run an effective opposition without the PNC. I know people say, well, if the PNC not do it, WPA can do it. And look, let me face facts. Let me face facts. You cannot run an effective opposition movement without an effective PNC. And the PNC has to get its shit together. And perhaps some of you all need to threaten them to move away from them and put you all support with other parties to wake them up.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. It's 19 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. Unless Dr. Hines has anything else he wants to share with you.
No.
The lines are now opened. The lines are now open. You're free to call and make your contributions. It's 20 past the 8 o'clock hour. Yes, 622-5933 is the number to call. Call your life.
Morning, Dr. Hines, and morning, Kadaki, and morning, Dan. So much to unpack. Joined the program late, Dr. Hines. A year ago, you were on Kadaki show the morning time, and I said, leadership, I failed this. Dr. Hines had said, no, not really. But here's it. You just mentioned leadership, where African Guyanese have not, right, lived up, or actually have not think about our failure in leadership. And I think, in my opinion, and I am more pessimistic in where we're going to be in the next 20 years if we don't implement certain processes. Now, if we look at the next 20 years, and if leadership have not thought about enlightening or educating our youngsters to be more Afrocentric and to actually think about where the future is going to be, we are doomed, especially African Guyanese, and I really don't care about anybody else. My care is African Guyanese. And I'm always going to say this. While we are skewing and thinking about a lot of things, Indians are creating facts on the ground that even with elections, when we are in those positions of authority, we are scared to make the changes to correct all the ills that have taken place to us. So our mindset from leaders have to change. You said we got to drag the PPP. And what are the things to drag them? It ain't going to be just talking and saying, oh, we hope they're going to do the right thing. We've got to take other actions, and we have not done that. All we want to do is to pray that the PPP is going to do the right thing and hope that, you know, they're going to see their way. It's not going to happen. Here's the point. What's going on in Kenya? In Guyana, we seems to not protest about anything. We simply have been dumbed down for so long, we'll keep our mouth shut, and then we're going to think, well, I mean, things is going to change in the next 20 years, or things are going to get better. So if we don't lead the fight, how do we expect to make any changes? So the question for us is, yes, leadership, and what type of leadership? If the leader is following in a 19th century playbook and they expect change, or we keep doing the same thing and expect a different results. Like Tacoma Gunset said, a white man, and said, hey, you guys got the army and got the police, but yet still you're complaining. But what they've done is Indianize, as we said, the educational system. They'll go and put top Indians, they're going to put Indians in these top places that control the Africans. And we're going to contend with that. We see it and we do nothing. We say nothing, we don't challenge it. So leadership and the type of leadership is needed is simply failing us, especially as an African people, because we continue to follow some old playbook that think, well, elections and elections and elections. That's possibly a small aspect of it, but if you don't put fear in these folks' heart, we will remain the same. Facts on the ground. That's what Israel have done to the Palestinians. Now they're going to want you to negotiate for 25%. They've already stolen 75%. Think of what the Indians have done in Guyana. They control every aspect of life in Guyana. And the Africans are simply on their knees, bending over backward. But I don't really see, in my humble opinion, anything that's going to be left but crumbs for my African Guyanese brothers and sisters. So Dr. Hines, you had mentioned going along and just, you know, through the electoral machinery. And we've seen what that have done. For 27, 28 years, the PPP has been in power. The erosion of our thought patterns and how the way we think, corruption is so endemic, it's been normalized. So unless you break the entire system, we're going to be inching along and getting some small gains and think we're winning. So I don't see any solutions, Dr. Hines, unless you go all out. It's either we get a piece of the pie or everything got to go. That's my take.
Thank you for your call. Elijah made home 622. Dr. Hines?
If I can address that caller, what the caller just said. My disagreement with the caller is that I cannot say all is lost, because I know all is not lost. I cannot say that leadership have failed us. I can only say that perhaps the majority of the leadership has failed us, but some of us are in the trenches fighting every day, and you can't say we have failed the people. You know, so I have that difference with the caller. But here's my challenge to that caller. I got two organizations I just walked through. One called the Working People's Alliance, one called the Society for African Guyanese Empowerment, SAGE. I challenge in that call. I need soldiers. Vote the call out saying that we got struggle or we put it. I need soldiers. Join up with me. Join up with me and come. The more soldiers we get, the more pessimistic we will be because the more work we will be able to do. This thing won't happen just like that. We got organized for it to happen. We got mobilized for it to happen. Again, I say I got two organizations I working through. The WPA, which is a political party, the Society for African Guyanese Empowerment, which is the African Guyanese organization that I'm working through. Come and join one of them or both and be a soldier. You don't have to be inside Guyana. And that challenge is to all the listeners here on this board. Come in, there is some, CLRGM said there is always something to be done. There's a lot to be done. And we have to organize, and mobilize. When you're organized, when an opportunity presents itself, you're able to take advantage of it. But if you're not organized, you can't take advantage. And then you're pessimistic. I cannot be pessimistic. I have to state the fact there's a lot more to be done, but there's a lot we are doing with limited resources and limited soldiers.
Call your life. Call your life.
Yeah, good morning to you and Dr. Hines. Now, Dr. Hines, we are looking at this silly period that was called it an thing. To me, the PPP know they got look the big thing what they had for the thing, and look how it fell out. And what I said it early in this week that they got people that got the dogs fighting, they throw up blood rag, the dog forget the beef, forget the bully beef in the thing, and gone tearing up on the blood, the blood rag that they throw in there. Now lots of people coming out and talking. I've listened last night to a program with you and Roy Steele. And he was talking lots of things. But you know, the main chance we got to look on is protest. Aubrey Norton does get 8 and 20 persons on the protest. If Roysdale and Amanza could bring, like, because said they got followers, about 3,000 apiece, it's going to be 6,000 and 20 persons in front of GCOM fighting for a clean voters list. But with all they are talking about, the need, you got to get protesters, you got to get protests. I have never seen a team coming out in front of GCOM any day to admit the faithful 8 around many out there to say, you know what, we are from this team. The only set of people who go that you know is the faithful few. And if you're talking about what you could do for the party, what you this, what you do, bring your people. We want numbers at GCOM. Now when it comes to meeting with the Carter Center, I am happy that there was a meeting with the Carter Center. And I only hope that the team that met with Carter Center has highlighted the problems of the election, the electorate, where we need a clean voters list, we need biometrics, and one of the main things that GCOM must not ever allow people to go into the voting compartments and make them take pictures of who they have casted the ballot for, because your ballot is between you and who and God. It is not between you and the general public, because you got to put it out there. Don't mean that your ballot should not be counted, because it said if any kind of discrepancies with your ballot, it should be deemed a spoiled ballot. And the last election, that is what happened. Now, when we go down the road to see the Wagwan, we know it got people who caused the elections not to come out the way it is because they were trained what to do in the post stations, and many of them didn't do it. They know what they had to do with it, and they didn't do it. And they come from way down. When one, they said, get young people. There was a young person within APNU who go out there and spoke into all and sundry before the ballots were being counted on election day, that all the military voted for Granger. And when you study getting young people, you say you want young people. And if young people you putting in your party, all right, you got Ogunse and the other person is 99. I can't remember me, Mr. King. He would have taught y'all along the way. Y'all as young people, you came up within those older heads. And look the way how you behave for your party. Kadaki is younger than you, Dr. Hines. And Kadaki got one thing with him, he's WPA to the core. And if you got other young people in the PNC party who for the slightest reason will take a dollar or two or listen to Aswar and walk away, can you hold them as competent people for the party? And what this country is doing, what is going on now, they are looking to infiltrate. And you see, when you're scraping, everybody watching that the money will coming out from the oil rig. And everybody wants a piece. And they don't care. They like the Bible story. Where it come from the Bible. Sell out your birthright for a pot of beans, lentil soup. But in Guyana, you're selling out your Africanism, your African self for a little bit of money from the thing. And when you don't sell it out, where you got? Moving along. Everybody talking about the big money. Well, now, the subtle install regime got ways and means in getting the cash grant back. Because by the time you collect the cash grant and you open it out like a fund and you come out, the owner is taking it back. I wonder if they are working with the install to take it and recycle it back in the install. Lastly, the other day they put up, Mark published more people, more permanent secretaries who are in this business with the sanctioning. And Dr. Hines, I would be glad if you can look in and let it be explained more, like what thing did, Paul did. And lastly, you see the person who called you just now? I called in on the program. I could remember that man saying, and this same it was BUXTONIAN morning time, that he instructed his relatives to give the Koli man a vote and don't vote for the black man. That was the 2020 election. So how dare he come on your program this morning to remind you of what you said on a subsequent program, but he never ever would remember what he said to his immediate relatives. But the Bible said, take the beam out to your eye and then look for take the mote out to your matty eye. I am PNC. I would still go and do things with WPA. I don't see that I should separate myself. And Dr. Hines, you know that I went and I talked on WPA floor. You know why? Because I want us to become a party of an included bunch. I must not take myself to just fight in the PNC arena when WPA got a need. I must be there to join my forces with the WPA to make us a stronger opposition. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your call. What's that one? Callers, you have to show some patience. You might be seeing ringing, but it's not connected. All right, let's so. Call your life. Call your life.
Morning, neighbor. Oh boy. Morning, Dr. Hinds. Good morning. Doctor, I'm so grateful for your big brother, type of your big brother, your big uncle, type of leadership. I'm so grateful for that. And I must say thank you so much, Doc. You're doing a wonderful work for us. And I advise you to continue with good spirit and good strength. God bless you so much. And next thing I'd want to say that Sister Rhonda said something just now that is a lot of strength. We should mention about the candidate for the election, that if is a case that Sister Manzon, Brother Rydale, and them, they got the followers or the supporters that support them. And so why not help to use them in a big cause, because when whoever is finished is representing the opposition, with the PNC is the bigger part of the opposition, and carry them out, encourage them to go out and be a part of the protesting for the clean voters list and biometrics and so on. And there's a good reasoning that Sister Rhonda put out. And I just want to share that and say that, I feel very much appreciative of that Sister Rhonda said. And I hope that Sister Manzon, Brother Rydale, and them listening, and if they could take that into consideration and do likewise. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your call. You have voice notes.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam and Dr. David Hinds. I can remember Courtney Commering used to go out alone with his placard and protest. He was standing for men. Did Mr. Norton stop Rydale Ford and Amanza from going out and protest? They say they have their supporters and people that believe in them. If they go out there, they want to have their supporters supporting them, and maybe other people would go and join, and to make this country a better place for all of us. Norton would be the only one wouldn't be out on the street if so be the case that he in one protest, but we the people, because when it comes to election, when these same people come to hold meeting and talk to us, what they say to us, oh, it is not us, it's the people. Power is the people have to do it. Is the people have to do it. But when they get into power, all the power gone from the people, and it's only if it's 36 or 66, them alone have the power, because whatever they say goes. We ain't got no more says. We is the one that have to vote to make them who they are or who they would end up being. But they're not fighting for us, they're fighting for themselves. Because they would have looked to us to hear what we want, how we want it, when we want it, where we want it. Because we are the ones have to go out there to vote. Now, Rydale is going out there, Amans is going out there. If we doesn't go and vote to make them what they want to be, can they end up being anything at the end of the day? No. They still need us. They can't do it by themselves. So they have to fight for us. They have to engage us. They got to know what we want, not what they want. And what they want is to go to the top to get what they want. They're not studying the poor people at the bottom. We got to vote to make them get what they want. And that is what you're seeing. That is all about them and not about us. Because you keep fighting that you want this position, you want to lead. Who would you lead if we doesn't go out and vote for you? Who would you lead?
Thank you for that voice. Now, Dr. Hines, any comments?
No.
Okay, it's now 18 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. You're tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. We're chatting with Dr. Hines on the, political things and things, social and otherwise, in the society. Let me tell you that there is what we call that, a phonics camp, that is going to be hosted over the August vacation period. I'm trying to get the exact information for you. I'll share it with you shortly. Call it live.
Yes, good morning, Dr. Hines, and good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, everyone in the Guyanese diaspora. Good morning to all Guyanese. The sister just raised a pertinent question. A leader needs followers. But who does Amanza inspire? You have to inspire, leadership has to inspire followers so that we could follow leadership. Amanza's favorite words is that y'all must do it, but she doesn't inspire movement. Christ wouldn't even follow Amanza, nor Roysdale Ford. They have to inspire that. Aubrey Norton at least has a history. And it's that history that they're afraid of. It's that history that inspires us through memory. Amanza and them don't have that. And they know that. They just being mischievous and running interference on behalf of President Granger, former president. Because he is the one behind everyone here. There was a picture in circulation. And you saw the candidates, Simona Brooms. She pulled out. It's a good thing she did. Amanza, Roysdale Ford, Carl Greenwich, Valda Lawrence. What do they all have in common? I talked about the lowest common denominator last time. The lowest common denominator here, the common denominator here is Granger. They're all people he favored and placed on the list. Again, it's that list. The only ace of spade that Granger has is holding on to that list. Because if you don't do it, he says he can remove you. He has been manipulating this trajectory to this point from the inception. So who can see it blind? And Granger is beholden to foreign interest. Deals he made with Exxon and them early. And Aubrey Norton is kind of tied to that until he gets control of the list. If you can't get mommy or sub granny, so we holding on to Cupboard Norton because we know there are other ulterior motives why they want to get rid of Cupboard Norton. And we know that Amanza is there to facilitate that ulterior motive. And so is Roysdale Ford. And the rest of them are Carl Greenwich. They're all in Granger's camp. That ain't hard to figure out. So Granger is the biggest hypocrite behind all of this mischievousness that's going on. But I would rather stand with Granger over Jack Gill. Let's understand that aspect. Because it's an ethnic war we're fighting as well. PPP dominance. Now, when we look, and there's a lesson to take away from Haiti. There's a lesson to take away from Kenya. I think we should spend at least a few minutes to look at least 4 podcasts on Kenya this morning. The country Kenya. And look at the panel shows, not BBC and CNN. Look at what these talk shows like Buxton Morning are saying in Canada, in Kenya. And you get to see what's the common denominator about what the youth are doing? The youth are saying, forget politicians. Now, I know this might seem kind of crude and confusing saying this. You see, the problem that Dr. Hines is talking about is the insufficiency of political action. That's why the Kenyans have to take it back into their own hands. You look in the United States, what were those young children doing with regards to Gaza? They were taking back their control. Black Lives Matter. What were they doing? Taking back control. And every other revolution across the world. When government becomes so corrupt and lawless, then the people have the inalienable right to set the crooked straight, to take back people's power. And that is something, I'm not trying to foster revolution. Revolution is innately stitched to the natural occurrence and the natural balancing of things. When governments get so lopsided, we see Black Lives Matters. We see street protests for COVID. We see Haiti. We see Kenya. Kenya, you must look at Kenya today. You will see the youths are saying, yes, politics is good. It has its place. But it has its place when it's in accordance with the Constitution. In Guyana, we have lawlessness in our lopsided executive branch, the PPP, whereby they are stacking the courts. That's clear and obvious. So what do? What's the common thing that we need to address? We need to address mass movement, as Dr. Hines just pointed out. And some of those people who are protesting need to shift their emphasis and to organize around mass movement, because guess what? You're the only ones who are actually putting your feet on the ground. You are already halfway successful in a small mass movement. So the people who are doing the actual protesting, like Rhonda Lane and those groups, need to reorganize themselves into mass movement catalyst groups. And the rest will follow. I believe Comrade Norton is the most experienced person today on the scene. The last time someone tried to fire gunshots in Congress Place. Who remembers that? Put your hands up. Good. For those who just come into politics in Guyana, might not remember that when Comrade Norton came, I think it was 2013 or 2014 to Congress Place, the gate was locked. Do you all know that? Why was the gate locked and the Linden people couldn't get in the compound in Sophia? And then when they got in there, who was the one whose team shot a gun? Why was a gunshot fired when Comrade Norton was trying to get elected in that particular election? Who fired the gun? It was Granger's security fired the gun. Why on earth will you fire a pistol in a crowd of PNC people? So this thing ain't new. This thing ain't new that Granger's up to. And I know he want to lay in the corner and Mark Pence stop talking about, oh, we might have a consensus where Granger would run again. He would run crazy. That's the only running he will do. Running high. That's the only running he's been doing. Right? So we have to accept the fact that we need politics, yes, but we need to mobilize the people at the grassroots. We need to take power away from some of the politicians. As Dr. Hines just said, get your shit right. Get your shit right. Because obviously, they haven't been getting it right. But that don't mean we want to get rid of Comrade Norton while we're getting our shit right. We ain't trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So we got to understand, a vote for Comrade Norton is a vote against inexperienced leadership by Royce Delford and Amanza. And Royce Delford and Amanza are doing their own thing, as the female said. It is not by coincidence that Comrade Norton is already leading this campaign. by 100-something delegates nominations to 20. It's because we believe in Combat Norton's experience over the inexperience of others and a corrupt agenda of others. If Amanza wanted anything to democratize and unite the PNC, she would rally around Combat Norton, as Kamala Harris is rallying around our old President Biden. Royce Ford needs to rally around the leader. Royce Ford needs to ask himself, look at the mischief he has created ever since that check cashing scheme. We saw you then. We saw all of you then aligning against Combat Norton. You, Amanza, Manish Guy Paul, Amna Ali, Miss Lewis, all of you. The evidence is out there. The public sees you for what you are. You are mischief makers, and you are largely the reason why the PNC is as it is now. What has Harvey Norton done to disunite this PNC meeting? What has he done? Done nothing but try to unite the country and unite the PNC. So the verdict is already out on you, Amanza. You need to go unite Union in number 53, where you're from, and stop denying 53 and latching on to Linden. The people in Union and 53 and Leeds need you to unite them there, because the biggest fight, the biggest PPP is taking over black people in Union and 53.
All right, wrap up.
So stop running from the fight, Amanza. Stop running from the fight, Roysdale Ford. The fight is the fight to unite your party. Roysdale said he wants to unite the PNC. But every chance you see him, he is doing everything to break up the PNC. Thank you for accepting my call.
Good morning, Dr. Hinds, Mr. Amsterdam, and your listening and viewing public. Now, I've been trying my best to stay away from all that is happening, but it comes a time when you have to speak up for what you believe in. Now, I'm not going to say that Mr. Norton does not have faults, but he's human and he's like anybody else. My question is, how come all of a sudden we're hearing all of these things? From the beginning, there was an orchestrated attempt to undermine Mr. Norton, right? And it's still happening. This is day 3 leading up to Congress. And I see this morning that there are 3 resignations from persons within the party. The laughable thing about it is that all 3 resignations has 26, 25, 06, 26. Now, come on. If you're going to be a detractor, at least do it properly. We are in the year 2024. And here it is, 3 resignations dated 2026. Now, with all that is happening, get it right, right? And those who have eyes to see will see that all of this is part of the shenanigans to undermine Mr. Norton, right? Now, I don't like speaking against women, right? But I have to. Amanza, I've always said that Amanza has qualities, but I don't think that Amanza is ready for any presidency. Neither is Roysdale Ford. Now I see them running all over the place trying to impress people. But where were they all the time? Roysdale more than Amanza, because you see her here and there. Where were they all the time? These politicians need to get their act together And I must say I agree with Dr. Hinds this morning when he spoke about proportional representation. Because if some of them lazy MPs in the opposition were working, perhaps we would get better results. And if they realized that they had to work to maintain their positions, they wouldn't take the time to be fighting among themselves. They wouldn't take their time to be fighting against Mr. Norton. They would be doing what the Guyanese public expect of them, and that is to represent them. That is what they're in Parliament for. Not to be fighting Mr. Norton, but to be representing the people of Guyana. So perhaps, not perhaps because I believe it, proportional representation would be the best way to go, because they will be doing their jobs and not killing and fighting each other for positions. I am so sick and tired of what is happening in the PNC right now. Like, seriously? So in this trajectory, where do the people who you are expected to represent, where are they? What place do they take in your bid for leadership? I'm seeing some people running about who's supposed to be MPs that I have not seen in a long time. And I'm going to throw something out there, and I'm going to leave your program. Well, not leave your program, but leave this voice note. Why did Royce DeFord and Amanzo try to meet a particular group in Georgetown with money? What are they saying? What is their role? I am so fed up of all of them. It ain't funny. And perhaps if the people who they are supposed to be representing not only threaten, but start showing indications that they don't want to be a part of all this madness, then they will get the message. The people of Guyana, especially the African Guyanese, need to pay attention to what is happening and not run with everything they see on social media. Have a good morning.
Thank you for that voice. Now, here's another one.
Kalaki, good morning. Dr. Hinds, a blessing and a good morning to you, my brother. Dr. Hinds, this struggle that really taking place in Guyana, this struggle is not just a physical struggle. This struggle is a spiritual battle. And Dr. Hinds, day after day, as I look at your program, Dr. Hinds, you have to play a major role in this struggle. Why? Because you are wiser than all of them. Dr. Hinds, you are a revolutionist. You understand the culture of politics. Dr. Hinds, if you have to leave the struggle to Mr. Norton, I don't believe we will get over the line. You know? Dr. Hinds, from the time you return back to Guyana, the culture of the politics take a different turn, and you are a forceful individual. Whenever you speak with authority and conviction. So to take us over the line, Dr. Hinds, you have to be at the front. I stand for correction, but that is the only way I see the coalition could defeat the PPP, because it is a nasty game. And Dr. Hinds, you right there and you understand. So this is my contribution this morning. Have a blessed one.
Thank you for that voice note. It's now a minute past 9 o'clock hour. That was the final voice note for the day. Dr. Hinds, wrap up, please.
Yeah, well, another morning of revelation, another morning of testimony. And You know, if we, the political people, in the political elites, want to hear more, it means that we live in somewhere else. People are crying out. People are crying out for leadership. People are crying out for leadership, and I'm imploring on my comrades across the political spectrum in the opposition that you all risk losing these people. Not losing them to the PPP, but losing them to frustration. I don't know. We have to keep on doing what we're doing. We have to keep on doing what we're doing. I know sometimes people get frustrated with me because I don't think politics is a selfish thing, you know. I think politics is a collaborative endeavor because you're fighting to better people's lives, not to better your own lives. A lot of us are doing quite okay, but to better the lives of people, you know. I look at the teachers going back to work without getting what they intended to do. And I think if we had thrown the political weight that we have together behind those teachers, the outcome would have been different. I think our politicians in the political parties are not seeing the big picture. And part of it has to do with the caller said just now. I don't think they are cultural. I don't think we're cultural enough. You know, we think politics as politics. And we don't see politics as culture. You know, when I wake up in the morning, I go to sleep in the night, I am thinking about all those people who meet me and express their frustrations, and the tens of thousands who can't meet me to express their frustration. It's them I'm thinking about. It's them I'm thinking about how to ease their frustrations. And, you know, we political people end up giving them more frustrations rather than easing their frustration. But we have to keep on struggling. We can't stop. We have to keep on struggling. And sometimes people have to take drastic action. You have to manage your leaders. And there are many ways of managing your leaders without abandoning them. You don't have to abandon them, but you have to manage them. I've never, in the whole history, I have been involved in political activism now for 50 years. Because I started as a little boy. I've never seen this connection between people and leaders like I'm seeing now. I've never seen it in any of the political parties on either side, like I'm seeing on our side. Total disconnection between leaders and people. It's like the people going so and the leaders going so. And you listen to analysis, you listen to explanations. And the analysis and explanations don't have nothing to do with people, except to say that, you know, people suffering and, you know, as I said, I can't change the entire world. I can't, you know, my business right now is with Black people. It's not that I'm not concerned or I don't know that other people, but I can't help them. I can't help Indians. Indians going through their story, they're going through their strictures. But if I go in Indian communities, I'm making it more bad for them. That is the reality. That is the reality. Indians have to organize like guerrillas and link up with people like me and others in the opposition in the dark of night. It's a different story. Some people say, you know, you're thinking about Black people. No, Indian people, their situation are different. I'm not saying they don't go through the strictures, but, you know, they gotta move different. It's Black people, you know, whose tears are more than the rain that fall in. More than the rain that fall in. And our leaders seem to treat them as chattel, treat them as numbers. And I cannot afford to do that. And I'm not asking people, you know, if I represent you and protect you and defend you, and I am not transacting and saying, well, you know, I expect your vote. I am doing it because it's the right thing to do. The votes will come later. The votes will come later. I have no fear about that. But our people need defense. No. Those teachers went back to work with a heavy heart yesterday. I know that. They weren't fighting. They stayed away from work for almost 3 months. Fighting. What more than that we want? And yet we couldn't take that corn flour and make good conky from it. We couldn't, because we don't know how to make conky. We don't know the significance of it. We don't understand our people spiritually. Our politicians are bereft of a spiritual connection with their people. And so they can't feel it in their bones, in their soul. It's there, they feel it, but they feel it on the surface. Not in their bones, not in their soul. Black people are in trouble. We are being beaten up. And our first line of business has to be to stop them from being beaten up. That is why I'm calling my brothers and sisters, get your all shit together. Because that shit that you are going on with, not helping the black man and the black woman and the black child, is just saying to them that all of it depends stupidness. Thank you, my brother, for hosting me another morning.
Thank you for your time, Dr. Hines. Thank you for your sacrifices. Thank you for your continued teaching. Have a good day. We shall speak. Thank you, viewers, for joining the program. It is now 9 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. It's Wednesday, so tomorrow we are likely to have Winston Jordan on. But let me tell you before you go that Kingdom Academy has a reading summer camp, and it's going to be from the 8th of July to the 24th. And it's daily from 9 to 11, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Mondays. Well, I said daily, but it's actually Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, 3 days a week. The general cost is $5,000. If you were to register from June 21st to the 27th, you still have a couple of days to do that. You will only pay $4,500. Right? Registration is $1,000. The activities include fun activities to develop a love for reading and so on and so forth, phonics and things like that. I can recommend it to you, Kingdom Academy. They've always been doing good work academically. You can call 619-7448 or visit at Lot 21 Middlewalk Road, Buxton. 21 Middlewalk Road, Buxton, I think, is the church right there at the Buxton Public Road, opposite the Church of God. Yes, the Pentecostal churches, we like to call it there. So you can go and get registered, get your child registered. In this day and time when the government is failing the education system, I dare encourage you. We have to have additional means and ways of encouraging our children and getting them educated the way they should be educated. Right? Remember, just now it's July. July is upon us soon. On the 12th of July, that's my birthday. We're going to have the children's party here, and it's always free. It's always where the children can come and get goodies, have a fun time, and get goodies to go away with. In many instances, they get back to school supplies and so on. So remember, all are invited. All the children are invited. I usually say between the ages of 0 and 12 years old, bring them out and let's have some fun with them. And then at the end of July, we're going to have the CAMS TV anniversary get together. This year, I said it's going to be a lunch and line. Let us all gather here and have some fun, eat some food, share some gaff, rub some shoulders, and strategize together. There's no cost per meal as it is right now. Like I said, just come and let's have a good time. You pay according to how you feel. You You come in, you want to make a contribution, make a contribution, get your meal. You don't want to give a contribution, take your meal, let's sit down and have a good time. So this year is a real free up year. We're freeing up for the youngsters, we're freeing up for the adults. But the adults, according to your means and so on, you can contribute if you feel like that is. There's no hard and fast rule on that. Good. Right now, you're encouraged to contribute to the program, to the upkeep of the program via the Zelle. You know the Zelle there, in the name of UET donor, right? The Zelle in the name of UET donor, that's 862-373-5187. 862-373-5187. That's the Zelle. You can contribute to that. And you can also contribute to the Cash App. That's $CAMS TV. The $CAMS TV. That's how you contribute Cash App. Cash App and Zelle work for those people who are overseas, in the United States especially. Those of you who are locally and you want to contribute, use the MMG. That's 6225933. You make a deposit to the MMG, 6225933. Any other ways you would like to contribute, you can contact me on 6225933 via WhatsApp, and I'll respond to you with the necessary guidance. Good. Stay strong. Stay safe. Come down to Club Twilight tomorrow night. Tomorrow is Thursday evening. Come on down and have some fun time. Have some relaxing time. It's karaoke night at Club Twilight with Al Christie. Good. And the CAMS DJ and sound system and so on. So come on down and get a relaxing time. In the meantime, stay safe. Much love. I'll see you when I see you tomorrow morning. Or if anything pops in the day that I need to enlighten you about, but I will. Have a good one, y'all. Much love.